Hawaii had a monarchy up until 1893, when businessmen overthrew the Queen, briefly set up a provisional government, and eventually had the U.S. annex the islands. In the midst of this upheaval was the short life of Kaiulani, Hawaii's last princess who fought against the annexation of her nation till its independence died, and she along with it. Born in 1875 in Honolulu, Kaiulani was the daughter and only child of Hawaiian Princess Miriam Laikelike and the Scottish businessman Archibald Cleghorn. She was the niece of both a king and queen of Hawaii. She was also the latter's heir apparent. At the time of her birth, she was only fourth in line to Hawaii's throne, and her uncle was King David Kalakaua, who wouldn't have a coronation until 1883, 9 years after taking the throne and starting a new dynasty. Upheaval had already begun by then. Political enemies had imported a Californian assassin, one Charles Patrick Carson, for the occasion, but forewarned, the beloved king had posted police all around the event. The coronation continued without a hitch and was the 8-year-old Kaiulani's first public event. Later on, her uncle would suggest a marriage between her and a Japanese prince, in part to stave off any action from grumbling American businessmen who thought the U.S. should annex Hawaii. Her mother would die in 1886 of unknown causes. Many at the time believed she might have been malevolently prayed to death. Supposedly on her deathbed, she predicted that Kaiulani would never marry and never be queen. It should be noted at this point that her uncle was in his 50s and childless. His heir, her aunt, was likewise childless. It was a distinct probability that Kaiulani would one day take the throne. Such a premonition, true story or not, was bound to give people the chills in light of later events. Not long after, Kaiulani was sent to England to finish her education at Great Harrowden Hall. After the novelty wore off, she was plagued by homesickness and the bite of an English winter. Matters weren't helped by news that her uncle, the king, was ill. He would die in San Francisco of Bright's disease during negotiations with the U.S. Her aunt became Queen Liliuokalani, and she was named heir apparent. Kaiulani did not return for the funeral, though her father would visit her. However, she would never see an independent Hawaii again either. A coup d'etat led by businessmen overthrew the monarchy in 1893 and set up an interim republic, while they waited for the U.S. to finalize annexation plans. Facing American artillery in the harbor, Queen Liliuokalani stepped down and appealed to the U.S. government to restore the rightful Hawaiian government. The U.S. representative to Hawaii flew an American flag over the government buildings and declared an unauthorized protectorate of the U.S. Instead of returning home, Kaiulani set out for Washington, D.C. Her ship docked in New York Harbor, where she was promptly swarmed by journalists. In response, the 18-year-old gave a speech on the pier. 70 years ago, Christian America sent over Christian men and women to give religion and civilization to Hawaii. Today, 3 of the sons of those missionaries are at your capital, asking you to undo their father's work. Who sent them? Who gave them authority to break the Constitution, which they swore to uphold? Today I, a poor, weak girl, with not one of my people near and all these Hawaiian statesmen against me, have strength to stand up for the rights of my people. Even now I can hear their wail in my heart, and it gives me strength and courage, and I am strong. Strong in the faith of God, strong in the knowledge that I am right, strong in the strength of 70 million people, who in this free land will hear my cry and will refuse to let their flag cover dishonor to mine. Her visit caused quite a stir, but several accused her of using the crisis to take the throne for herself. Others scoffed and made references to the past, where the strong annexed the weak by right of might. By the time she arrived in D.C., President Cleveland had informed the Senate to withdraw from the pending Hawaiian Treaty. Speculation exploded in the press, followed by silence, in which the journalists decided to speculate over who the Hawaiian princess might be engaged to. The correct answer was no one. Finally, Kaiulani was invited to the White House, where everyone danced around the political elephant in the room. The president appeared intent on assuring her that he wanted justice done. She was just as intent on proving that Hawaii was not the savage backwoods land painted by its detractors. Nothing definitive was said, but the U.S. government was speculating on an investigation. However, Kaiulani did not stay. She sailed back to England to finish her education. The U.S. did send someone to look into the situation in Honolulu, but the press was also intrigued by the princess's love life, especially as an imperial Japanese naval vessel lay anchored in Honolulu's harbor. Many speculated that she would marry a Japanese prince, once again raising the specter of Japanese protection over the islands. No such engagement materialized. Instead, things in Hawaii deteriorated even further. To save several annexation dissenters' lives, Queen Liliuokalani was forced to sign papers renouncing any claim to the throne and was charged with treason on the basis of knowledge of a counter-revolution without any supporting evidence for the charge. She was tried in a kangaroo court and imprisoned for several months. Kaiulani finished her schooling and remained in Europe, where everyone still considered her to be a princess of Hawaii. In the meantime, now President McKinley submitted papers to the Senate for the annexation of Hawaii. At this news, she set sail. She returned to Hawaii in 1897. Despite her lack of political status, she continued to receive visitors as a now private citizen. She would boycott the annexation ceremony there in 1898 and mourned the loss of Hawaiian independence. When the U.S. government sent commissioners to see about citizenship for all native Hawaiians, Kaiulani joined with her aunt to show them that the islanders were just as civilized as the Americans, despite newspapers painting them as backwards naked heathens. By 1899, her health was failing. Kaiulani's health had never been robust, but now she took to her bed, where her father read her the news. Doctors diagnosed inflammatory rheumatism, which involves chronic pain in the joints and connective tissues around them. 2 weeks after she fell ill, the public was notified and bulletin updates on her condition began. Kaiulani died at the age of 23 in her bed to the cries of peacocks on March 6, 1899. She was buried in the Royal Mausoleum 6 days later, and Hawaii mourned with dirges and processions.